Record holder, the Olympic 5,000 meter champion and world 10,000 meter champion. Gabriel Giai, the Tanzanian national record last year, 2:03. Second in Boston early this year, so he'll be looking to go one place better. This man, the third fastest runner of all time. 26 global titles, 3 Olympic titles within that, 6 world titles on the track, 11 world cross-country titles. Can he turn back the clock one more time? Kenenisa Bekele, an absolute legend of the sport. And as Richard said earlier, the World Masters record holder. And we're delighted to have him back on the start line here in the Valencia. Such an exciting addition. And, and it really does make it for a super exciting race as the runners set their watches. And we are off. The Valencia Marathon, Trinidad Alfonso 2023. The elites are us, the first wave of 8, Richard, in the masses as well. This is the fastest of waves, and there is so much to play for out there on the course. The paces go straight to the front, don't they, Richard? They're going to play such an important role in today's race.
Yeah, both the men's and women's races have got experienced pacemakers. Male pacemakers for both men and women, so it'll be a little bit easier for the pacemakers at front of the women's race. On the men's side, the 3 pacemakers are aiming for a halfway time of around 61 minutes, which is targeting the course record set here 12 months ago by Kelvin Kiptum, 2:01:53. There they are, heading out over the Mont Olivet Bridge down to the Plaza Europa, and then they go out onto one of the famous avenues. This city is just full of these great boulevards, tree-lined avenues, which is one of the reasons why I think this city is so great for marathon running. We've commented on how fast the course is because it's so flat. But I think you can see already so many of the streets are lined with trees, and it does remind me so much of the streets of Berlin, and that's why we've seen so many fast times here.
What a great aerial shot that was of the runners going either side. It's almost reminiscent of a kind of cycling shot, isn't it, where they go past an obstacle. And you can see the masses and the speed. The organisation here is second to none. They have, it's around about 50 races through the year. So as I said, they've adopted that name, City of Running, here in Valencia. And I think this race will see, I think, over 100,000 people having raced through this calendar year. So real promotion of sport, physical activity, getting people active. And you only need to go for a late night run in the park here, and there are so many people out running all the time, and the city really does embrace it. I think a runner on the centre there, I can see, I think Risa Estevez, the former superb athlete on the track now in the Masters, and I think he ran 28:50 for 10K the other day, and I think he's around about 45 now.
47.
So 47, wow.
Yeah, amazing. I mean, funny thing about Estevez was that, great track runner, over 1,500 metres, 3,000 metres. He ran against Kenenisa here in Valencia, that race I mentioned, indoors, what was it, 15 years ago, when they were, well, Kenenisa was still in his 20s. So here are the male pacemakers, 3 pacemakers, the 2 in the red vest in the middle and on the right of our screen, and then the third one on the left of the screen, Hillary Kipkoech in the white. Those are the 3 pacemakers. And Lul Gebrselassie in the white vest, tucked in that group, very experienced marathon runner, one of the race favourites from Ethiopia. He's actually a former winner here in Valencia 5 years ago. We've talked a lot about how Valencia has been put on the map. I mean, it was only, I think, 11 years ago, the course record for the men's race was 2:26. Just think how things have changed in the last 12 years. I mean, they had this strategy that was developed over the last 10 years to turn this city into a city of running, and they've achieved that in so many ways.
Yeah, huge support from the Trinidad Alfonso Foundation and lots of different partners within that network, and as I said, producing such quality races, and it's one that the elites and the masses, I think that's what makes it special, that the elites know there's going to be fast times. Keep an eye on those Olympic qualifying times for Paris for the men, 2:08 and 10 seconds, for the women, 2:26.50. As Richard said, we've got multiple national records under threat. And then the masses, when you look at the number of different nationalities that have travelled, we know there's a big British contingent here today, and those obviously watching as well back home. So it's a little bit warmer here out in Valencia than the -4 that I saw on the car temperature gauge before just about to board the flight. So hopefully you're wrapped up warm and enjoying this coverage of the Valencia Marathon Trinidad Alfonso. As you can see, a nice split screen there where you can cover both of the races. As Richard said, the paces themselves. So Matata, Kiprotich, and there you go, the three paces that have got a really vital job at the very front of the elite men's race to be as economical, around about that 2:53 per kilometre, from around about this 61-minute mark through halfway. And what we have seen, and Kelvin Kipton has kind of blown things out of the water recently with these super fast negative splits, meaning the second half of the race has been significantly faster. But it's going to be fascinating to see, with the depth and quality in these races, whether we will go faster for the second half, or whether it will be a case of sustaining the pace. But those pacemakers, it's about economical running, it's about making sure the field do go with them. There's the chase group behind as well, the second pace group. So Dominic Omer, I think it's Bernard Quebet and Julian Rebeck are the paces, looking for about 62.30 to 62.45. So still very, very fast running, and that's just the chase pack, Richard.
So there's the leading Spanish male, Tariku Navales, best time of 2:07.18. So he is attacking the Spanish national record, 2:06.25 by Ayad Lamderson, and that's why he's in that second group, targeting a halfway time of 62.30, which would obviously, if he could keep that pace all the way to the finish, would bring him home in a new national record. 2:06.25 is what he's targeting, and he's in that second group on the right of our screen. These are the leaders. They've gone out pretty fast. We've seen the first 2 kilometre splits, 2:49 and 2:54. So that second kilometre, very fast. They've just gone through 2 kilometres in 5:43. And this is where they head on to the Avenida de las Baleares, which will take them down to towards the port. There's the leading women on the right-hand side. You can see Alma Zayana tucked in behind the pacemakers at the front, alongside her compatriot Gunzabe Dibaba, who ran actually only 8 weeks ago. She ran in Chicago and was disappointed with her run there, and decided she didn't really get going, she said, in Chicago.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, Richard, about the powers of recovery, and obviously bouncing back from a disappointing marathon, and is it possible? Can she turn it round in that short time span?
Well, it's difficult, and of course nowadays they say the super shoes make it a little bit easier for you to recover from a marathon, so that's one factor. But I think particularly with her run in Chicago, I think Gunzabe said it was very, very cold there, and for her to run 2:21 is not really running to the maximum. Here's some nice scenes of Malvarosa Beach, and as I mentioned earlier, the venue for the America's Cup 15 years ago, Vélez Eventes. This is the venue that was built for the America's Cup 15 years ago, and this is where the runners will head down to. They pass that site at about just short of 5 kilometres.
Going back to Alana, can she obviously come back in terms of form, you know, from that marathon debut? That was a fantastic debut, the fastest debut of all time. And you know, can she go faster, do you think? I mean, I look back to that 2016 Olympic run in that world record. You would think she maybe has a few more minutes to take off that marathon time.
Yes, I mean, I think what we forget about Almaz is that obviously she had that purple patch in her career in 2016, 2017 when she won the Olympic title in Rio, and then smashed the world record for over 10,000 metres, and then had this 2 or 3 years of real difficulty. You know, had surgery on both knees, and it was really credit to her management agency, I think, GSD, Global Sport Communication, that they really helped with her rehabilitation and got her back running. And I say that because I think 3 or 4 years ago, a lot of people thought that her career was over, Almaz Ayana. But then she came back, and for her to win in Amsterdam just over 12 months ago was a huge achievement. So I think we shouldn't forget her history. A great track runner. She started out actually as a 3,000 metre steeplechaser and was so successful, so phenomenal on the track, and now has obviously focused on the road, given up her track racing. And I think the question is really, as you say, James, can she go faster than 2:17:20? I think today she set herself a goal of going faster and having an attack on Amana Baristo's course record here, and obviously she's trying to get a place for Paris next year. Very, very competitive, I have to say, to make Ethiopia's women's team for Paris. We'll talk about that a little bit later.
And we just saw the start of the second wave of 8. They're going to be going on for the next hour. That's the number of runners they're going to get over that start line. Said record number of entries. I think it was 33,000. So the infrastructure that is needed to facilitate that, and to give everyone the best experience with the different waves. As again, the split screen shows the leading women tucked into that pace group behind, and the lead men on the left-hand side of the screen in the white vest, so not wearing the distinctive Pacers red vest, but that is Hilary Kiprotic himself, a 59.22 from Valencia Half Marathon this year in 9th place. I mean, again, the depth in that race over the half marathon distance a few weeks ago. That's been a good stepping stone, hasn't it, Richard, for many of the runners here. It's given them obviously the opportunity to come to Valencia and run so fast. I mean, the amount of 57-minute clock-ins and 58-minute clock-ins have almost rewritten the record books of half marathon running. And then it gives them then the opportunity then either to come back and run the full marathon distance, or for some of them to come back as pacemakers.
Yes, and one of the guys who's really made a name for himself here in Valencia over the half marathon distance, Kibiwot Kandi. We can see him near the front of that group just behind the pacemakers. He won the Valencia half marathon 6 weeks ago. Was it 6 weeks? Maybe
around about that,
end
wasn't
of October,
it?
wasn't it? Yeah, ran 57:40. He has run 2 marathons. His most recent marathon was 2 years ago in New York, when he ran only 2:13. Well, for a 57 half marathon, you would expect him to run a lot faster, and I think that's what he's aiming for today. He's with the leading group.
Yeah, he struggled, didn't he, in New York? I mean, New York obviously has no pacemakers. You know, there's a more challenging bit of elevation on the course, and yeah, so 2:13 doesn't do any justice at all for someone that's run 57 minutes multiple times for half marathon. So, given that obviously he's fresh in terms of that form for half marathon, we would expect it to translate more realistically to a very fast time today. But we have seen through the record books where that hasn't always been the case.
So we're just switching back to the women's race. You can see the 3 male pacemakers. That's the leading Spanish athlete, Mayida Mayouf, has recently transferred her nationality from Morocco to Spain. She actually ran her best time here in Valencia 12 months ago, 2:21.01, but that was when she was running for Morocco. And in June, she became a Spanish citizen and is hoping to set a new national record for Spain. The Spanish national record was set here in Valencia by Marta Galliman. She ran 2:26. So if Mayuf can run anywhere near what she ran here last year, 2:21 in her Moroccan vest, then she's going to set a new national record for Spain.
Well, she's going to smash it potentially by the best part of 5 minutes if she's in the form she has been previously. So another runner to look out for. Look out for the Brazilian Daniel dos Santos. It's a very, very strong runner. He's a very brave runner as well, isn't he, Richard? Does like to go out and be aggressive. So 2:06 and 11 seconds in 2021 here. And I think he would love to go even faster than his 2:04.51 lifetime best. But again, when you look down, you know, it's one of the fastest times for you know, athletes that are non-Kenyan or Ethiopian. So that puts him very high on that all-time list as well. But there's just so many. When you look at that lead pack there, Richard, and you can see Cheptegei just at the back of that group. He's got a hat on, he's got a long sleeve top on. So if we go back to his debut, he's run 41 minutes for 15 kilometers. Obviously, you know, great pedigree on the track. He loves Valencia, that record of Candice Bekele that lasted 15 years, the 10,000 meter record. So set back in, was it 2005, and Joshua breaking that in 2020 on the track in the park here, where he ran 26 minutes and 11 seconds. So they've played down a little bit his work in it. Adi, Rutte, his coach, talked about a little bit of injury post Budapest. And in terms of marathon mileage, they've talked about it being about the 90 to 100 miles a week, where when we start talking about Kelvin Kipton's 200 miles a week, or maybe the average marathon runner running similar or world-class times, probably been about the 140 miles mark. Where do you think that mileage and maybe slight change of approach going from a kind of lower mileage might pay off or might not pay off, Richard?
Yeah, I mean, Cheptegei's come into this race and he hasn't set himself, you know, massive goals. He's just said he wants to learn. And I think when he decided earlier this year to move up to the marathon, it was more because he wanted new motivation. I think he ran the half marathon in New York in March, and then it was on the journey back home to Uganda. He met his agent Yuri van der Velden in Amsterdam, and they had a conversation. And I think Joshua then said, you know, let me have a go at the marathon. I think the plan had been for him to move up to the marathon after next year's Paris Olympics, but I think he just wanted to dip his foot in the water, see what it was like. And so I don't think he's gone up. When I say he hasn't gone all in, I mean, I think he's trained very hard. But I mean, as you've mentioned, James, it hasn't been a full marathon build-up. He had that foot injury coming out of the World Championships in Budapest, and has had about an 8-week build-up. And yeah, he said he wants to learn and just have a good performance. I think he'll be very, very happy if he can get around that 2:03 time, which nowadays seems very, very average, but hasn't set himself the biggest of goals. I think we'll probably see the best of Cheptegei when he fully commits to the marathon after next summer's Paris Olympics.
Galliman, the record on the screen, is it in or on borrowed time, that 2:26? As we said, Mare off the former Moroccan switching nationalities, and that time. But she would love to go inside her own personal best. As we said, there's runners out there that's about personal best, about that Olympic qualifying time, 2:26.50, that she has already. But she'd love to go a bit faster and put her name on that Spanish team for Paris in the summer. Going back to Joshua and Paris, I'm pretty sure the effort today, he wants to make sure that it's a good effort, but it doesn't do any detriment to his body, given that it's such a big summer. going into Paris, and he'd love to obviously defend that 5,000 meter title, but also add the 10,000 meter title as well. And that's a really tall order given the quality of runners that just keep coming out. And going from road back to track again, there's always a little bit of uncertainty there about the recovery, but as you said, Richard, super shoes are definitely allowing a little bit of extra recovery and a little bit of additional recovery from training as well. And a great side shot there of the male pacers with the lead female contingent tucked in behind them on the right-hand side, and then on the left. The men's is just starting to split up slightly. We just see a few gaps, few runners coming off the back. In that group, I see Alexander Mutaso as well. What a debut he had last year, 3rd place, and it almost got lost in the amazing performance of Kelvin Kipton. He's probably a very underrated marathon runner in my view. 2:03 for that debut, but then he looked superb in Prague this year. I was so impressed with him back in May, and looked very good there. So he knows how to win races, and does a lot of his training, doesn't he, in Japan, and a lot of his races in Japan as well. And so such a rich tradition and culture of marathon running. So I'm fascinated to see how he goes again. Knows how to run fast here in Valencia. So there is the splits in relation to national records. So obviously the Uganda national record and his own national record under threat. And this is a great shot of the different records that potentially could be set today, Richard. So that's something that we'll go through today. Continue through for how many national records, and that is something that the race organisers are so proud of how many have been set here previously, but big ambitions this year for how many could be under threat. And the Eritrean national record is also another one under threat as well.
Yeah, Ugandan national record 2:04.48. That's Stephen Kesey. So I think we can expect that Joshua Cheptegei, if he has a good performance today, could get a new national record, certainly for Uganda. But yeah, James, as you say, 8 national records set here last year, and the organisers hoping for a few more. Well, they were saying 12 national records would be really nice. They're the leading men. You can see right at the back of that group is Kenenisa Bakili. Lul Gebrselassie, the winner here in Valencia 5 years ago. Alexander Mutiso, number 1, 3rd here in Valencia 12 months ago. And then the tall figure on the right of your screen, also in the black vest, Gabriel Gee from Tanzania, 2nd here last year. Also in that group, you can see on the left of the group as we're looking at it is Kibiwot Kandi, his 3rd marathon, and then just behind the 2 pacemakers is former London Marathon winner from 2 years ago, Sisai Lema, coached by famous Ethiopian coach Gemadu Dedefo. He's in great shape. We've heard his best time 2:03.36.
Yeah, he's someone definitely to keep an eye out for. He's a class act. He's got a fantastic CV at the marathon majors, and he's a very, very strong runner, very smart runner, and sometimes goes under the radar, even though he's won, the London Marathon in terms of being, competitive. And I think someone, just given the debuts or the big names that are in this field, that he does get a little bit lost. So men went through 5K in 14:31. Women have come up on the screen there, 16 minutes and 13 seconds through that first 5-kilometre split.
Again, seeing some of the national records that are under threat today. Desi Makanan from Bahrain, and we've already mentioned Majida Mayouf, who's challenging the Spanish record. See Alma Zayana tucked in there just behind the 3 male pacemakers, and being closely followed by Walkinish Degafa. also from Ethiopia, in the blue vest. And then just behind her is the German runner, Neylat Kejeta. But I think quite a few of the women's leading contenders have gone with this very fast pace. They've gone out at 67.30, so that's a sort of 2:15 finishing time. There's about 5 or 6 athletes in that leading women's group, headed by race favourite Almaz Ayana.
Yeah, to give context for that elite men's split, they were 14:31 through 5K. Kelvin Kipton from Chicago earlier this year went through in 14 minutes and 26 seconds. So slightly off that world record split, but don't forget Kelvin Kipton's second half was inside 60 minutes. So at the moment, around about that 14:30 mark is really good running. And for the women, they're just 5 seconds slower than that first 5-kilometre split 12 months ago. It's a world record split. Sefa was just inside 16 minutes in that phenomenal Berlin run, where she closed out in 2 hours 11 minutes and 53 seconds, 4 minutes and 53 seconds per mile. But we are aiming, as we said, towards that 2:14 mark today for the women, and that course record. So again, as Richard said, around about the 67:30 mark or thereabouts, and then a potential pickup in the second half where the racing really does start to kick off. But you can see the numbers, the masses, and a lot of these very, very good standard athletes, male athletes that almost swamp and surround the elite women. It is a very large pack of runners. The elite men does start to thin out because they're operating at 2:02 pace, and there is only a select few that have the ability and have done the training to go through that. There's a few elite men though, Richard, aren't they, making their debuts that we've also got to keep an eye out for?
Well, we've mentioned Cheptegei obviously, and Kibiwott Kandi not making his debut, but I think today people are thinking we're going to expect him to run a lot faster than he ran in New York 2 years ago, his 2:13. But many experienced marathon runners, probably the most experienced is Sisai Lema, running his 24th marathon today. He's only 32.
Wow.
But I suppose one of the noticeable features, just we have lost one of the male pacemakers, so that's obviously a little bit disappointing, because they would have been hoping that the 3 pacemakers would go with them at least till halfway. We've only got 2 pacemakers at the front of the men's race now. That's one of the leading French athletes, Nico Navarro. French national record was set here by Amdouini, 2:05.22. And there's the Israeli national record holder, Gashai Ayale, ran 2:05.33 here in Valencia 2 years ago. So that is the second group. They're operating at 2:05 pace. We've got pacemakers hoping to take them through halfway in 62:30. So on the right of the screen is the second group. This is what we're looking at now, right at the front of the race, with the 2 pacemakers, Bernard Engano and Hilary Kipkoech. And right at the back of that first group is Kenenisa Bakile, and at the front, just behind the 2 pacemakers, Sisai Lema of Ethiopia and Alexander Mutiso, with Kibiwott Kandi just behind them.
The hunger of Kenenisa Bakile coming back again at age 41. You know, it's like a heavyweight boxer getting back in the ring once more to take a swing, to take a slug at the world's very best. And he, you know, every time we write him off, or maybe we don't write him off, but every time we think he's drifting off into the sunset, he seems to come back again and again and again. And you know, when you look at his longevity and you look at those he's raced, if it wasn't for Eliud Kipchoge, you know, the 2 of them and their the years of work and success, you know, and when he came back with that 2:01 clocking, Kenenisa, that was, you know, that showed that his marathon record, you know, was to support his track pedigree. And talking about pedigrees, the man on the bike there, Richard.
Miguel Indurain. So not only a Olympic champion, but also a 5-time winner of the Tour de France. Isn't it great to see him? Well, you know, when you're in Spain, you talk about running a lot, but you can't fail to talk about cycling. Cycling is such a big sport here. And Miguel Indurain is an ambassador for Enevit, and he's on the bike. And then going through 10K, you can see their drink stations. The way the organisers have set up the drinks for the elite athletes is that the first 22 athletes have their own drinks table. So there are 22 tables for the top 22 runners, both on the men's and women's side. And then after those first 22 tables, they've got tables with drinks for 4 athletes. So the leading athletes are really well provided for in terms of trying to get their individual drinks.
Yeah, there's always a little bit of jockeying for positions, and see on the right hand top of the screen, 28.55 through 10 kilometers. So we are 21 seconds inside course record pace, 29.16, and another very good 5 kilometer split. So the official splits come out at 14.28 for those lead paces through their 5 kilometers. So almost absolutely identical, 14.27 for the second 5K split. So very fast running, operating at that low 61-minute pace. And a little look over the shoulder, 3.60, that's Charles Master. The second place in Delhi, over half marathon in October, just a shade over 60 minutes. And also raced in Madrid, 60.21 back in April. So he doesn't have too much wiggle room. And running at the front, and that in the white vest, Hillary Kiprotich, the 24-year-old, that 16th in the Budapest Trials on the track, but much better on the road, 27.23 for 10 kilometers on the road. And as we said, fresh from a very low 59-minute clock in just a few weeks ago. So he's probably got a little more wiggle room than a few of the others. And Sisalema is the aggressor, the early aggressor behind. As well, we're just trying to make sure that all of the expected runners are there. And, there have been a few dropping off as well. So Kibot Candy, you can see athlete in the cycle shorts, probably 4 back on that shot. Just by Mataso, the very, very talented athlete. So very excited to see what he does. There he is on the screen there, wearing number 3, bib number 3, what he can do in his 3rd marathon. Smooth runner, and there's Kibrot Candy. His personal best, 2:13.43. I think if he holds it together and runs anywhere near what he's capable of running, he loves Valencia, and I'm sure he'd be delighted with the lack of elevation today. I think it's a maximum of high of 18 meters, Richard, which must be one of the lowest of any city marathon around the world. So a real thought in terms of the course design, the course in terms of corners. And it obviously has beautiful conditions and great pacemakers. So women's time for 10 kilometers come up on the screen there. So a slight increase in pace over that second 5 kilometers, Richard, 32.02. So around about 15.50, give or take, or even slightly faster than that for the second 5 kilometers. So it is picked up, and just 1 second off that course record projected time.
It's a very big group, isn't it? There's about 5 or 6 of the leading women there, and about 20-25 male runners operating at that pace. Around 2:15, 67.30 is what the pacemakers are aiming for halfway. And we can see Almaz Ayana, and right on her shoulder as she's been for the first half hour of this race. Walkenish Degefer, just behind her is Mela Kejeta, the German athlete. Can't quite pick out Joan Chilimo Melli. There she is, just on the right, just going out of screen. The former Kenyan runner, now running for Romania, has the Romanian national record, 2:18:04. There she is. There's Kejeta. 4 or 5 of the leading women there being taken along by the pacemakers.
And you can see those red vests of the pacers with Pacer on the front with, as I said, many very good national and very high standard club runners. Saw a Carlo Athletics vest in there as well. I think that was Dan Nash, or I should say Dr. Dan Nash, having recently passed his Viva. So there's a whole host of runners travelling far and wide to be here, and many British athletics enthusiasts tuning in this morning. Said it is slightly warmer here in Valencia than back home, and it's maybe starting to split up, Richard, isn't it, in the lead men? Looks like a potential group of 3 or 4 that are breaking away. You can see Kibrot Candy in there, Cisalema, but it has the pace picked up, or are the paces maintaining it?
Well, the 11th kilometre was 2:57, so they haven't got any faster. This is interesting that, as you say, James, 3 of the athletes have broken clear with the 2 pacemakers at the front, Hilary Kipkoech in the white vest and Charles Matata on the right of the screen, and they're talking with one of the race organisers. There's the Brazilian athlete. He's the fastest runner ever for the marathon from somebody who's not born in Africa, Daniel Nascimento. Made a name for himself in New York just last year when he went, as you said, James, no pacemakers in New York, and he did the pacemaking. He had a 2-minute lead at the halfway point before being reeled in by eventual winner Evans Gibet. But he's running a very sensible race. He's still under his own national record, 2:04:51. So obviously having to operate on his own without any pacemakers, but he's got his own goal.
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought he would have expected to be solo this early on. I mean, obviously in New York, and didn't mind being at the front and pushing it on, but I would have thought he would have been much happier being in the group. But I think it's just the pace they're operating up front. So we're just looking down some of the live tracking that is coming through. I know many looking out for those Olympic qualifying times. So Phil Seseman, I think, is going in that Olympic qualifying chase group. So that has one of the British pacemakers in there. So great to see Jake Smith back after a few health concerns. So he's pacing, looking at that 63.50 to 64 group through halfway. So he's being pacing alongside Jonathan Correa, the athlete that was 5th in the Commonwealth Games marathon last summer. And Phil Seseman tucked right in that group, having gone through 10 kilometres in 30 minutes and 16 seconds. So and that Olympic group has a number of runners in it. I think going down to about the 50th place. So 50th place at the moment out on the road is operating at Olympic qualifying time, which is 2:08 and 10 seconds. But you can see the elite men on the left. You can see the pacers just having a chat to each other, just making sure that that those runners are in check behind. And, the elite women on the right hand of your screen. So they're again operating right on course record pace, right on that 2:14 mark. So we have 2 very fast races here in Valencia, and there's still a lot of racing to go. And again, it's going to be interesting to see, especially the men, more so how far the pacemakers can go at this operated time. So expected to go around about 25, even towards 30 kilometres, but that makes it really tough, doesn't it, Richard, when they are operating at the pace they are running at right now?
Yeah, this is right at the front of the women's race. Walkinish Degaffer coming back from childbirth. In fact, all the leading contenders in the women's race are mothers. Alma Zayana gave birth at the back end of 2020 to her son Sorafel. Walkinish Degaffer has now 2 children, both daughters, aged 1 and 2, and the German athlete Nenat Kijeta also is a mother, as is Joan Chilimo Mele has an 8-year-old daughter. So they're all experienced marathon runners and mothers. There's Kananisa Bakila. He's not surprisingly finding this pace very, very tough. Just dropping back, but it's very, very fast at the front. There's that leading group at the front of the race has been joined by last year's second place athlete from Tanzania, Gabriel Gay. You just see him at the back of that front group. 4 athletes behind the 2 pacemakers: Seaside Lemma from Ethiopia, Kibiwot Kandi from Kenya, Alexander Mutiso from Kenya, and from Tanzania at the back of that group, Gabriel Gay, who actually has broken away from the group just behind them. But it's very, very fast, the pace at the moment.
Yeah, Mola and Luel Gabel Selassie were the 2 athletes that maybe can work together. That's if you can find pockets of runners and you can find someone that is running of a similar pace, whether they can work their way back. Gerda Stein, the South African, 2:25.28. Lifetime best, and again another one that would love to take down the national record. 27 seconds inside that pace at the moment, 34 minutes and through 10 kilometers. So nice controlled 17 minutes per 5k split there, and it's a heck of a bit of running from the South African early on. And again, many of those elite women tracking that 2:26.50, an Olympic qualifying time. A couple of Brits in there, Sonia Samuels and Lily Partridge, that have gone through 10 kilometres inside 35 minutes, so around about 5:30, give or take, per mile through 10 kilometres. So they're on pace at the moment as well.
The leading men going through 15 kilometres. The drink station with 4 athletes slightly clear, following closely behind the 2 pacemakers, Charles Matata and Hilary Kipkoech. And right at the front of that group, Seaside Lemma, he's the one who's probably been the most aggressive. A little bit further back on the right of the screen is Lul Gebrselassie.
So Richard, going through a drink station, what type of drinks would they be having at this stage with 42 minutes on the clock? You know, the drink makeup slightly different per drink station as the race goes on, and how important is it that they do get their own personal drink on board in these early stages?
Well, I think it's very, very important. I mean, they tend to be carbohydrate drinks just to top up their glycogen stores in this this first half of the race, and I think the race organisers have made a point of making it as easy as possible for the athletes to pick up their drinks by giving individual tables to the top 22 athletes. So that leading group has now been joined by a few others. It's now 7 or 8 athletes. So it's probably that pace has possibly slowed a little bit at the front. On the left of the screen is the leading women, Alma Zayana, very prominent there. And this is another of the athletes chasing a national record, Sofia Yaremchuk. Best time of 2:24.04. Italian record 2:23.44. So if she can run 20 seconds faster than her best, she's just under national record pace. But it is a really big feature of this race that the organisers have made a big effort to set as many national records in the marathon as possible. 8 national records set here last year, 6 on the women's side, 2 on the men's side, and it'll be really interesting to see how many national records are set here today. Well, you can see in the men's race that leading group is a little bit bigger now than it was a few minutes ago, through 15k in 43.03. So they're still operating under course record pace. Some of the favourites there: Sisai Lema, Gabriel Gee from Tanzania, Alexander Mutiso ran his debut here 12 months ago, running his 3rd marathon today.
Well, if that is right, that's a 14:08 5-kilometre split that actually brings them inside the pace that was set during the halfway split that Kelvin Kipton set in Chicago. So 43:09 was Kelvin Kipton's 15-kilometre split on his way during that first half of Chicago, but he did pick up the second half. So when we're looking at these splits for Kelvin, it's interesting to look at, Richard, isn't it? Because his second half inside 60 minutes in Chicago, but yeah, a very quick split there. You can see the world record split coming up there, but yeah, the absolute split might not tell the whole story.
Well, you're right, James. That last 5 kilometres, 14:08. So they went 2:57, 2:46, 2:46, 2:46, 2:52. So it is quite incredible that they are now operating at well under course record pace. Projected finish time at this pace is 2 hours and 52 seconds. So that is quite incredible, and it does explain why athletes of the calibre of Kenenisa Bekele and even Lul Gebrselassie are struggling there about 100 metres back down the road. But this group is still very, very big. Gabriel Gee looking very comfortable there. Kibiwot Kandi, another athlete that we haven't mentioned from Ethiopia, Chalo Deso, just taking off his arm sleeves. Got a best time of 2:04.53. Well, he's operating at much faster pace. Another Ethiopian alongside him, also a 2:04 athlete, Dawit Walde. So there's about 7 athletes behind the 2 pacemakers who are running very, very fast at the moment. The chasing group, Gitani Mole from Ethiopia running alongside Kenenisa Bekele and Lul Gebrselassie. Well, Lul Gebrselassie has a great record at the marathon. Was 3rd in the World Championship Marathon in Budapest in the summer and 4th in London earlier this year, 2:05.45. He's chosen, well, I'm not sure whether he's chosen to just back off the pace a bit or he's just finding it really, really tough. But he's about 100 metres, more than 100 metres behind that leading group that we're seeing now on our screen. 2:53 the last kilometre.
So I think that's the average pace they've been running, I think 2:53. So what a start to this race, through that first 15 kilometres. And setting up so nicely for a course record. But also given the strength. I mean, when we go back, we can't not keep talking about Kelvin Kipton's times in terms of the world record, but also the course record. The damage Kelvin did was 30 to 35 kilometres, where he ran 14 minutes last year, and then backed it up 35 to 40 kilometres, running 14:05. But when he set the world record in Chicago, that 5 kilometres between 30 and 35 kilometres was 13:51. And then ran just a shade outside 14 minutes. So, you know, when you're splitting 27:50 or low 28 minutes in that split in a marathon. That's where the damage has been done in the second half. As we look on the screen now, the women's record is under threat course record wise. They're 1 second again inside that. That's great to see. 48 minutes and 3 seconds. So super economical running in this women's race. It's a split, I think, isn't it, Richard, of just over 16 minutes again for that 5 kilometers. So, and still there's a good contingent, good pack of the elite women in this lead group.
Right in the middle of that pacing group at the front of the women's race, wearing number 350, that's Abebe Geradao, and I mention him because he is actually the training partner of Almaz Ayana. So Almaz has the benefit of her training partner in the race, who's also setting the pace for her, one of the 3 pacemakers at the front of that women's race, targeting 67.30, and they're absolutely spot on. That 67.30 course record. They're 1 second inside the course record, 2:14.58, set here last year by Amana Berita, the reigning world champion from the Budapest World Championships this summer.
So yeah, Pace is doing an absolutely sterling job at the moment with almost identical splits in the women's. Slight pickup as we saw in the men's, but it has settled down now. This is going to be really interesting to see what this next 5 kilometer split brings us, as it looks like Kenenisa Bekele's trying to close that gap. He's gone past Gabor Selassie and Molla, and now he can see there's the main group that it's definitely come back together, isn't it, Richard? That's a much larger group than we had with the injection of pace, and probably a slight slowing at the front as well. But Kibwat Kani looks very good at the moment. I'm really impressed that Joshua Cheptegei, how easy he closed that gap down, and he just doesn't look stressed at all.
I think this is a classic example of why Valencia is such a fast course. You can see these avenues, wide roads, tree-lined avenues, so reminiscent of Berlin, which does make it just so much easier. Wide avenues, and get a sense of how fast they're operating. Kenenisa Bekele being followed by somebody on roller skates, trying to close that gap, but he's going to have his work cut out. Best time, remember, from 4 years ago in Berlin, 2:01.41. 41 years of age.
Trying to work out, Richard, whether we saw Titus Kipruto in that group as well. So 8th in Worlds this year. So I think he might be tucked in that group. He's, again, someone to definitely look out for. 4th in Tokyo back in March. And Desso also in that group, winner in Tokyo. And again, someone that is improving, and he's proving that he's a good racer as well, Richard.
Yeah, on the left of the screen, the leading men, Joshua Cheptegei in the white vest, looking very comfortable, as you say. This is back with the women. Walkinish Degafer. And there's a nice picture of Fionnuala McCormack chasing the Irish record. Her personal best 2:23.58. The Irish record set by Katrina McKiernan back in 1998, 2:23.44. So she needs to improve her best by 15 seconds to get the Irish record. Interesting that the 2 Irish national records both set in the 1990s. On the men's side, 2:09.14 by John Tracy, and Katrina McKiernan's 2:22.23 is the Irish record. That's the record that Fionnuala is chasing. We've already mentioned the South African athlete Gerda Stein. She's inside the national record, as is Marta Galemijn, also inside the Spanish national record. But I think Marta is only in second place in the Spanish race, behind Mayita Mayouf.
And as you said that, Richard, it comes up on the screen. Mayouf has gone through 15 kilometres in 50 minutes and 26 seconds. So very healthily inside that national record through the first 15 kilometres, just shy of 10 miles. And the split screen again, showing very fast running. Ayana there on the centre of the screen. That's a high arm carriage with the arm warmers looking very controlled. As you said, Richard, to come back from those surgeries and the debut in Amsterdam, 2:17. Just think there's a few more minutes that she can definitely go faster with that confidence in the marathon. And she could definitely be someone that, if she booked her place in that Paris team, could be very competitive on the Olympic stage once again. And wouldn't that be a fantastic comeback? So Karuto on the right-hand side of the screen, you can see the effort, you can see the slight strain of the chase group, and the almost overstriding. That's almost what it's like to be someone that is just falling off the pace. Richard, when that happens in a marathon, what do you tell yourself early stages, and probably getting the feedback that you're running fast?
Yeah, I think that's why on the women's side we're seeing a lot of the women trying to go with that leading group, because it's so much easier to be in a group, even if you're operating a little bit faster than you would want to run. But a good example of that is the German athlete there, Melat Kejeta. Her best time. There's the Mexican athlete, best time 2:29.57. Another national record under threat today. But just going back to German athlete Melat Kejeta, she has a best time of 2:23.57, and today, I mean, she's operating at a much faster pace, 2:15. They're going at that pace, 67.30 is their target time. So she's operating at a pace much faster than she's ever run before for the marathon, but it's probably much easier for her to be in that leading group than a few hundred yards down the road.
And for the men, I'm super excited to see what this halfway split is. I think it's going to be inside the 61-minute mark. So some of those splits suggest it could be towards the 60-30 mark. So Eliud Kipchoge's second fastest time of all time of 2:01 could very well be under threat. But the course record, Kelvin Kipton's time from last year, that 2:01.53, given the quality of runners, is very, very much under threat. On the screen there, again, lovely side-on shot of the elite women, with the group starting to pull away and operating at that 2:14 mark. As the elite men, they can see they've gone through, and look at that. Wow, they've gone through faster than the split of Kelvin Kipton. So this is very fast running at the moment. So 15 seconds on the caption on the screen, 57 minutes and 24 seconds. The pacer doing a great job. Walde on the left-hand side of your screen, Dermot Walde, the 3:33 500 meter man once upon a time. So stepping up distances, and he's got the shades on, almost a poker face on the left-hand side. So none of these runners want to give away anything at the moment, and they would obviously love the paces to go as long as possible. As Cheptegei on the back of that group, and reading some great articles this week, and Jonathan Gault, Let's Run, great article regarding his stat being the top 4, or the 4 runners previous to him that have held the world records for 5 and 10,000 meters and then made their marathon debuts. And Zatopek was the first, and he did that in the Olympic Games, where he won that Olympic Games treble. And Lassie Varian tried to repeat that and came up slightly short in Munich, coming 5th. And then you had Haile making his debut, Haile Gabor Selassie, where I say only 3rd in London, Richard. It was a quality year when he made his debut. And then Kenenisa Bekele, that Paris run, that 2:05. So joins an illustrious 4 before him, Joshua Cheptegei. And I'm fascinated to see what he does in his debut here. But he is surrounded, very much like Gabor Selassie was, by quality marathon runners, and he's not going to have it in his own way, Richard.
Certainly not. They are operating at very, very fast pace, 15 seconds under course record pace through 20k.
We seem to have lost someone. I think the camera picking up, is it Tusa? That has maybe just stepped off, Richard, so yeah, a bit of sickness or maybe an issue there. I hope they're okay. There's great support out on the course, great medical backup, and I'm sure there'll be a team on hand straight away. So 21 kilometres has come up, so we're a fraction away from the halfway split.
Well, they're operating at world record pace. However, the one thing that you said earlier, James, is that Kelvin Kiptum, the way he runs his marathons is that the fastest part of his race is between 30 kilometres and the finish. We saw that in Chicago a couple of months ago. We saw that here in Valencia 12 months ago. And so even though they're now at world record pace, it all really hinges on how fast these guys are able to go in the final quarter of the distance.
Yeah, it's probably calling it world record split, wasn't it? So that was a split time en route to the world record. But yeah, the negative split, the sub 60 minutes second half, and there's the halfway time coming up on the screen. So it is 60 minutes and 35 seconds. So if we're going to have a world record, we need to break the second half of the course. We need to go inside 60 minutes by just 1 second or 2 seconds for a world record. So it is not impossible. That is, I think I'm right in saying, the fastest ever halfway split in a marathon, or very, very close to it. It's going to be very close to the fastest split that we've seen. So this is fascinating running, given the strength of runners, given the fact of the hugely decorated Joshua Cheptegei is there, and the likes of Kibwat Kandi has got so much speed in those legs, isn't he, over the shorter distance of half marathon, that yes, this is fascinating running here in Valencia.
Just trying to read the body language of Cheptegei and even Kibwat Kandi, these guys who have run so fast at shorter distances. And I get a sense that this is very, very tough for Cheptegei. I mean, to come into your first marathon and to be to have to put up with this kind of pace. They're operating at world record pace, and you get a sense that Cheptegei is just trying to stay as relaxed as possible. You know, they've gone through the half marathon in just outside 60 minutes. Kibwat Kandi is still there, but also, like Cheptegei, trying to just stay as relaxed as possible, conserve as much energy as possible. Cheptegei himself has said it all depends on what happens over the last 7 kilometres, and they're still almost 15 kilometres away from the 35 kilometre point. So Cheptegei trying to conserve energy.
Kenenisa's gone through his split is 60 minutes and 58 seconds. So he's such an experienced runner. He must have looked at his watch and gone, I've been dropped running sub 61 minutes. The pace that was originally set, wasn't it, in the technical meeting and agreed by the pacers. But yeah, I mean, that is phenomenal. And he's found himself in no man's land at the moment. But if he's in any shape that we've seen him previously, one of the greatest runners of all time, then he might start to see some runners dropping off. But it's going to make it tough given the strength of the pedigree and depth of those runners in front of him. But he's having a really good go. I'm impressed with Kennedy to get out there and be sub 61 minutes. So we're not far off from the elite women going through halfway. We expect around about the 67-minute mark for them through that halfway split. And you talked about the shaded areas here on the course with the tree lines, and you can see the fast surface underfoot. Dexter there on the right-hand side of the screen, just tracking Ayana. There's a good group here in this elite women's race that you can see that the 20-kilometre split coming up. So just 8 seconds is a slight drop off of course record pace. But it's still very, very quick running. I still think that's a very strong split again for the 5 kilometres. So I think that might be maybe even the fastest split of the day, but just slightly slower than the course record pace. So 65 minutes on the race clock and 20 kilometres into this elite women's race.
And the 4 leading female athletes alongside Almaz Ayana is another Ethiopian, Haywat Gebre-Kidan. Got a best time of 2:19 and 10 seconds. There's a good view of her in the blue vest alongside Ayana. And just behind Ayana is the other Ethiopian, Workinish Degefer. So 3 Ethiopians right at the front of the women's race. Also in that group there, you can see Melat Kejeta, German athlete now. Workinish Degefer. What a great record she had in those 3 years from 2017 through to 2020. Won the Dubai Marathon in 2017 and won it again in 2020, and actually held the Ethiopian national record for a short while.
So Kejeta, the European record is probably under threat, isn't it? Paula Radcliffe's 2:15. You know, this is a quality bit of running. The threat potentially there.
Well, James, I think Paula does still have technically the European record, although we're waiting to have Sifan Hassan.
Yes, ratified. That's right, absolutely,
so
yes.
You're right, in the record books it's still Paula, but I think people will expect very soon for that name to be replaced by Sifan Hassan. Well, I'll be surprised if Melat can run as fast as Sifan ran in Chicago 2 months ago.
And what a run by Hassan, also going back to London as well. That comeback of comebacks. So Ayana was in that race where she took 7th, but yeah, I've been so impressed with the step up in distance, and by again one of the very best of runners. But yeah, that European record of Paula's broken. And it's going to be interesting to see whether it can be further increased today. There you go, talking about records being increased. The Spanish national record, so through 15 kilometres, so Michel Maroff will be through 20 kilometres as well now, so that's an older split coming on the screen.
Well, good news for British running in that Phil Sessamon has gone through halfway in 64:02. He's come into this race targeting the Olympic qualifying time 2:08:10, and he is at the moment on target with a halfway split 64:02, and he's really stepped up from his best time coming into this race 2:10:23 from London earlier this year. So a great opening first half of the race for Phil Sessamon.
Yeah, and Jake Smith there getting his split up, the pacer in that group 64:02, so obviously helping Phil for as long as possible. So that's great to see. Phil Sessamon's on there. His coach Andy Henderson out here with him, as well as many of the lead crew that will be course side cheering on Phil. A likeable doctor himself as well, so balancing life as well. So good to see Phil on that Olympic qualifying time through halfway in a fairly large group as well. So many of them looking to book their places for Paris in the summer. But it is starting to split up here in the elite men's again. So we've had a couple of punches being thrown, and Cheptegei is off the back of this now. Wow, and Kibrot Kandi. So this is absolutely fascinating. So 24 kilometers, and this is the race. It is happening here. The paces, you can see in the center, in the white vest, that is still Hillary Kiprotich. The athlete Charles Massa wearing 360, but it is Lemmer again, isn't it? He was the aggressor early on, and he seems like he's almost asking the pacers to go again. They're single file, and Cheptegei is off the back of this group. So yeah, the race is happening, and so is Kibrot Kandi. This is absolute carnage now happening, and we are only 24 kilometers into the race. So these are big moves already.
So there's 4 athletes who are tucked in behind the 2 pacemakers. And James, as you say, Sisai Lemmer, who's been probably the most aggressive of the 4 since the start of the race. He is the one who's closest to the pacemakers. 2 other Ethiopians in that group, Chalo Desa and Dawid Walde. And the Tanzanian, Gabriel Gaye, he's still with them, but as we remember last year, he was very aggressive. He was the one who actually tried to stay with Kelvin Kiptum in the final 10 kilometers. Wasn't able to do that, but he's right at the back of that group, but it looks as though he's hanging on, and the field really now strung out. Cheptegei running on his own. Alexander Mutiso, 3rd place here last year. He's about 30-40 meters back, and Kibrot Kandi trying to hang on to Mutiso. So I think a lot of the damage was done in just in how fast the race went out through halfway in 1 hour and 35 seconds. Well, they ran the 24th kilometer in 2:53. There's Cheptegei on the right of the screen.
Now this is a really important part of the race for him. He's going to be maybe thinking about how his body is, and maybe thinking about the summer as well, in terms of how much damage. They talked about the not lack of mileage, they played it down a bit, but they said he's run up to 28 miles in training. They've gone down to slightly lower elevations to get some good training in, but when you're kind of half and half in the marathon build-up against real marathon, out and out runners. So, and I think maybe now that first split, they wanted it, the talk also was about it being a bit more controlled through the halfway, and it was anything but controlled, 60 minutes and 35 seconds through halfway. So maybe he's just being sensible and backing it up, or maybe the slight lack of mileage and slight lack of real marathon preparation is starting to take its toll. But yeah, you can almost just see the paces up front battling to stay there for as long as possible. I know the athletes behind would love them to get towards that 30-kilometer mark, and there's a Giai at the back of that group, the strong Tanzanian. Again, that 2:03 clocking last year, given the quality of that. And there you go, the 25-kilometer split coming up at 72 minutes and 4 seconds. That is exactly, that's the world record split. They're inside that, sorry. It was 71 minutes and 52 seconds. So we are inside world record pace, but it's going to be fascinating. It's the difference between 30 and 40 kilometers. That is where we're going to need to see them pick it up or maintain this fast pace if we are going to get close to that world record. But yeah, this is a really good go at it at the moment, and 4 athletes with those 2 paces. So 25 kilometers, 71 minutes and 52 seconds.
Great job by the 2 pacemakers, Henry Kitkoech and Charles Matata. Still looking very good, having gone through 25 kilometers. More national records being brought up on the screen. Argentinian national record under threat today, 2:09:36. Joachim Ardbey, who ran that record here in Valencia 2 years ago. He's also running today. He's the one trying to improve his own national record. But at the front of the race, the two pacemakers, Hilary Kipkoech in the white vest and Charles Matata. They've got 4 athletes that they're carrying. At the moment they're working at about the 2:01 pace. 2:01.16 is their projected finish time as they went through 25 kilometres. The 25th kilometre was actually running 2:50, so they picked up the pace. And you can just see the crowds on this section of the course as they go through what's known as the garden route along El Rio. This is the 5-kilometre section that James referred to. One of the most popular places for running, not on the tarmac roads where the athletes are, but just on their left-hand side. There's this beautiful shaded 5-kilometre circuit which is run by the local runners day in, day out. Meanwhile, back on the roads, one of the pacemakers, Charles Matata's dropped out, and he's just left now to Hilary Kipchumba, see if he can take them to 40 kilometres, sorry, through to 30 kilometres. Cisse Lemma, doesn't he look strong?
He does, yeah. That Truro Park you've been talking about, Richard, beautiful part of the city, and one where many runners are getting their kilometre splits in. There's a 5-kilometre trail down there as well, and you can run past the track where there's been those multiple world records, a city that's seen over 8 world records on the road and the track. And the strength of this marathon, IAAF Platinum Marathon Standard, so that is the very highest level of marathon running. And Mark Rogue, the elite athletes that they get in every year, so high in quality. And Jose Antonio Roland, the former Spanish 500-meter runner, also part of that elite race organising committee as well. So this now is really starting to happen. It's, as you talked about, Charles Matata's just stepped away, so we're down to 1 pacer. Hilary Kipkoech is doing his very best to keep going for as long as possible, and a little more economical running in the women's race at the moment. So there's still such a large pack there. Still no real fireworks in the women's race yet, but definitely the fireworks are happening in the men's race. So Truro Park, the former river that ran through the city, so I think it flooded the city for the last time in the 1970s. So decided to it was either going to be a motorway, Richard, or a beautiful park, and we're so glad it became a beautiful park where people get to run, and it's really helped build this city of running and the real culture of running. And even fairly late last night I managed to get a few kilometres on there, and there are still lots and lots of runners out there. It's very well lit, so if you do look to travel to Valencia, then do go and enjoy the sounds and sights. It's a beautiful city for culture and for food, and yes, for running as well. And as we said earlier, over 50 races held up and down the calendar year here. So do get yourselves over to Valencia. But you can see the single file now. It is fast running, and the race is really on. Cisse Lemma now he's almost goading the pacer to keep going and push it on. And Desso there is the victim of that. And look at that. This is a really strong bit of running by the athlete we mentioned earlier, that he's won London. He's finished so high in so many marathons that things are really starting to happen, Richard.
Very interesting that Kibiwot Kandi has moved into 2nd place. If we take out the pacemaker, Cisse Lemma right at the front alongside the pacemaker, but it's the Kenyan Kibiwot Kandi who's moved into 2nd, just in front of the Ethiopian Dawid Walde, with the Tanzanian Gabriel Gee in 4th place if we exclude the pacemaker. But yes, Cisse Lemma, very experienced, 24 marathons behind him, 3 victories. and actually he won his last race in the build-up to Valencia out in Ankara just under 2 months ago. Ran a 61:09 half marathon, coached by Gemadou Dedefo, same coach as the world champion Amana Barisa, who won here last year, and also the world record holder Tigist Assefa. So Gemadou has got a great stable of male and female athletes, and it's Cisse Lemmer who is right at the front, still looking very strong. Got a best time of 2:03:36, and he's well inside that. We'd expect Hilary Kipkoech, the pacemaker, to drop out at 30k, and so Cisse will have a little bit more help for the next 10 minutes, and then might well have to run that last quarter of the race on his own. That's Dawood Walde on the right of the screen. He's in third place, just behind Kipiwot Kandi, having a great run. Kenyan running his third marathon here in Valencia. Well, we've talked so much about how Valencia has become this great marathon. Very interesting how that has taken shape over the last 10 years under the guidance of some very influential people from Valencia, including Paco Barao, the president of the famous running club here in Valencia, SD Correcaminos, that has done so much to change the face of running here in Valencia. Also Juan Roch, the benefactor, the owner of the Spanish supermarket chain Mercadona, who's put so much money into this race, but not only into running here in Valencia, into so many sports, into basketball and into disability sport. Valencia really has become one of the great marathons. Not yet a world marathon major, but it's got a platinum label, and it's just really creating its own reputation for fast times and national records. But these leading three runners are actually coming together now as they approach the 30-kilometre point. And you can see there the lead vehicle showing projected finishing time 2:01:03, so they're still operating well under course record pace. Last kilometre 2:50. So Kipkoech doing a great job pacemaking three athletes together as they go past the Torres de Serranas as they approach the old part of the city.
Yeah, there used to be 14 of these in the city. Beautiful castle constructions, but only 2 are now left. So the mix of real history mixed with the modern age, and we're sat right in that now with the beautiful setting of the City of Arts and Science at the Hemispheric. That is just a stunning space age almost location that these runners will be looking forward to seeing in a round about 40 minutes or so of running, with that iconic platform built over the water here. But there's still a number of hard kilometres to be run, and that last kilometre split coming up, that's 2:50. As you said, projection time on the race clock on the lead car, just a fraction over 2:01. There's a bit of a struggle on the right hand of the screen there, trying to work out who that is. Gilles, I think, is dropped off that lead group. Looks like her pace has dropped dramatically over that last few 100 metres.
So Almaziana went through halfway, bang on course record pace, 67:29. That would bring her home in exactly what the course record is from last year, 2:14:58. We're back now at the front of the men's race. Kipiwot Kandi, who knows the streets of Valencia so well from so many of his half marathon victories. He won here in Valencia 3 years ago when he ran that amazing time, 57:32, which was a world record for the half marathon when he ran that 3 years ago. Won here again for the half marathon 6 weeks ago, ran 57:40. This is the women's race, and they are just outside course record pace at 25 kilometres, 1:20.09. See who we can spot. There's Wukanish Degatha, and there's Almazayana. Looks as though it might be just those two athletes who are together. See if we can pick out the German Milad Gejeta was with them. Gebre Kidan, the Ethiopian, is also there. So we've got 3 athletes together at 25 kilometres. So they're just outside the course record pace. Almazayana, Wukanish Degatha. She won her last race in the build-up to Valencia. Very impressive half marathon win in Trento, staged by her manager Gianni Di Madonna. That was at the beginning of October. And here the men heading down through some of the famous streets. The Carrère de la Pau, Peace Street, which will bring them down past the City Council building and the main square. But it's Sisai Lema, Dawid Walde and Kibiwot Kandi. So 2 Ethiopians and 1 Kenyan opened up a very, very big lead. Looks like they've got over 200 metres in front of their pursuers. Hilary Kipkoech doing a great job pacing through to 30 kilometres.
Yeah, he's doing an exceptional job, and Kibiwot Kandi had that couple of kilometres where he dropped off the pace, and we thought that was his race run. But he has fought his way back, and actually he looks one of the best of that league group now. So lots can happen in the marathon, especially with drink stations and also even just absorbing the drink. So it could be a stitch, or it could have been we've seen with some runners a slight tight muscle at certain points, and then it eases off and they get back into their running. But Kibiwot Kandi will take great heart from the fact that he was dropped, and he's right back in the race here. And you know, we know he knows how to run very fast over the shorter distance. Hasn't put it right in the marathon yet, but he's getting to the real business end now. And it's 3 athletes at the moment that have pulled clear, with the 1 pacemaker, with the arm warmers at the front. Hilary Kipkoech, the 24-year-old, that he still looks really good. I'm impressed with this athlete, and I think he's going to be someone that when he steps up to the full marathon. So maybe this is preparation, so maybe in 12 months' time we'll be sat here talking about Hilary Kipkoech. So look out for that name, because pacing 2:01. There you go, 30 kilometres. So 1:26.31. So that is the exact same split. So of the world record was set 27 seconds inside that. So that is really good running. So we've got 27 seconds now. But remember, this next split was at 13 minutes and 51 for Kelvin Kipton. So 1:26.04. So and he's still going. Hilary Kipkoech is still going, Richard. This is really good pacing. So he's going to almost set them with just 10 kilometres of running to go.
Yeah, amazing pacemaking from Kipkoech.
There was a faller then, I think, in that race. I don't know whether that was one of the men. I think it was one of the men in that large pack of the elite women and men there. Someone taking a bit of a tumble. That is the danger in this large group, especially when fatigue starts to kick in. And just being aware of surroundings and feet, and yeah, especially with the elite women, that they need to make their way out for the drink stations. That it's interesting, we're talking about the standard of runners here, and there's only so many that can have their official drinks on the table. Obviously the pacers and the elite women will have their specific tables but these runners won't, so it's having the awareness around those tables to get their drink. So there we go, the race is on. The pacemaker, Kiprotich, has dropped out, so they do have more than 10 kilometers of running solo now. And Kiprot Candy, having been dropped, goes to the front.
Well, Candy looks really good at this point. The question is, with 12 kilometers to go, can he keep strong? Cisse Lemmer in second place, and there's the pacemaker. What a good job he did. Hilary Kipkoech took them through to 30 kilometers, right through to the City Council Square, as the runners now head out west to the furthest most point on the west side of town, heading out towards the City Zoo, which they'll pass at 34 kilometers. 3 athletes locked together in the men's race, still looking strong. 2 Ethiopians, Cisse Lemmer and Dawid Walde, on the shoulder of Kiprot Candy.
So they'll be getting some great information from the lead vehicles in front. They know they are way inside course record pace, but they also know that there's a chance of a world record. So there is a very healthy prize pot for that. It is a prize money for obviously winning, but yeah, for breaking the world record, Richard. It's a nice amount to be taken home.
Yeah, winner's prize at Valencia is relatively small compared to the big city marathons. I mean, 30,000 euros is small compared with, say, what was on offer in New York a few weeks ago, 100,000 US, and in Chicago, 75,000. But the runners come here not just for the winner's prize, they come here for fast times. Some of them might be on bonuses. There's Cisse Lemmer, best time 2:03.36 from Berlin 4 years ago. They ran the last kilometre in 2:55, so slightly slower. The 30th kilometre before the pacemaker dropped out was 2:49, and then the 31st kilometre 2:55, and it's now Dawid Walde, 32 years of age, best time of 2:04.27. He's the one who's gone to the front, ran his best time in Rotterdam 2 years ago when he finished 3rd. He's got 10 marathons already behind him, so it's Dawid Walde who is out in front, and just in the space of a few minutes, Candy looks not quite as comfortable as when he took the lead when the pacemaker dropped out.
Yeah, Dawid Walde is looking very good at the front in those shades. So they're operating at the moment. They've averaged 4 minutes and 37 seconds per mile. And this now is about a race. It's about wanting to be first across the line, but also maybe a slight look at those Ethiopian national records as well. Kanis Bekele's record could be under threat. We've got 2 Ethiopians in this league group, with the Kiprot Candy right in the centre of that. As they go past the 20-mile mark, any marathon runner that's been training for a marathon knows that 20-mile mark pretty well, because for some that would have been the most they get done in terms of long runs. For others, they would have gone beyond that. But Steve Jones used to say that the race started at 20 miles. So a key to good marathon running was obviously being as economical and as fueled and as controlled as possible, because now we are 10k of running away from the finishing line, as the national records are coming up on the screen. As you can see, some of those inside those, the Israeli national record, Alame and Bletchu are just outside that. So
James, let me just give some updates on the British runners in the race. Clara Evans went through halfway at 73 73.00 exactly, and Lily Partridge and Sonia Samuels also went through halfway, 73.02. So all of those three athletes operating at personal best pace, and also significantly they're all inside the Olympic qualifying time, 2:26.50. So the British female athletes going really well through halfway. On the screen, the leading women, Almaz Ayana and Wokanish Degafa and Hewat Gebre-Kidan. Those are the top three athletes in the women's race. And on the right of the screen, the leading Spanish athlete, Mayita Mayuf, who went through halfway in 70.36. So she is inside her personal best and well inside the national record.
Yeah, making that British team for the Olympics could be tough, though. Getting that Olympic standard be one thing, but yeah, Callie Thackeray, phenomenal 2:22 debut recently out in the US, and Charlie Perdue, great to see her back to great form in Berlin, 2:22 also, and Rose Harvey had a big increase in Chicago, 2:23, and Sam Harrison, the Vince Wilson coached athlete, inside the Olympic qualifying as well. So healthy number of those with the qualifying times, and on the screen now, Meroff at 25 kilometre split. She's almost 3 minutes inside that time of 2:26 set last year. So we did expect that. We talked about at the very beginning that switch across nationalities, and she could be rewarded. I think this is one of her first races under her Spanish nationality that she could obliterate that national record and book her place in the Olympic team in the summer. So great to see. I always feel a little bit calmer when I see the runners get their bottles, Richard, in the latter stages, and especially when you've got three running at the quality pace that we've got on the screen. Warday, Lemma and Candy, and now it's Candy who's starting to struggle a little bit. He's a little bit deceptive in sometimes. He's such a strong, powerful, smooth runner, but he does seem to sometimes just step off the pace slightly, and on cue he comes back to this leading trio. But Warday looks really good, Richard, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think this is a very tough part of the race for them. They ran the 5 kilometres from 25k to 30k in 14 minutes and 11 seconds. That was with the help of the pacemaker, and since 30k the pace has dropped slightly. They've gone 2:55, 2:57, 2:54. So without the pacemaker, they're having to do all the work themselves, and the pace has dropped slightly. They're still on target for a course record, but it's all about whether they can maintain this very, very fast pace. Lots of national records at stake, particularly on the women's side. Lisa Waitman is she went through halfway alongside Isabel Bat-Doyle. They went through halfway at 71.44. The Australian national record is 2:21.34.
That was set last year, wasn't it?
It was by Diver, yes. So the German national record, that's 2:19.19, set by Irina Mikitenko. And that's on the radar for Melat Kajeta. But she has dropped off from the leading women. As we said, just 3 women left in that leading group: Almaz Ayana, Wokanish Degafa and Hewat Gebre-Kidan. Well, the 3 men locked together at the front of the race, and 3 women, 3 Ethiopians. I think Hewat Gebre-Kidan is still in that group. Certainly Almaz and Wokanish running side by side as they have since the start of the race. So they've dropped outside course record pace, 57 seconds outside course record pace at 30 kilometres.
So getting the split, Joshua Cheptegei back in 12th place, I think it is. So just 20 seconds off the lead, Richard.
Great view of the City Council Square, Plaza del Ayuntamiento. That's at just past 30 kilometres, 30.5 kilometres. One of the high spots of the old city as the runners head out. And for the first time in the race, actually, Wilkenish Degefer has gone ahead of Almaz Ayana. There's the splits for the leading women. So at halfway, they were 67.29. That was bang on course record pace. But at 30 kilometres, they have slowed down a bit, and maybe that's why it's Wilkenish Degefer who has taken the lead and has opened up a few metre gap ahead of Almaz Ayana. It's a great comeback for Wilkenish. I think when she won that half marathon in Italy 2 months ago, she raised a few eyebrows amongst the Ethiopian running community because she was such a star for the 3 years between 2017 and 2020 when she won her last marathon in Dubai. There's her credentials. I think she won in Dubai in 2017 and then won again in 2020.
Yeah, Degefer is just a quality athlete. So, as you said, she's been away. She's had 2 children, but she returned to form. And she knows how to run fast in Valencia. She ran back here, it was in 2015, wasn't it? So 67 minutes. And she's a Boston Marathon champion. So she's won one of the majors. And she's moving really well off the ground. You can see that very economical running style, and she's now in full flight with the pacer, so she can now really attack this last few kilometres if she is feeling good, and there is a slight gap back, isn't there? So now the race is really on in the women's.
Yeah, slightly reminiscent of last year when we were looking to let Asemba Gidai came into the race as the favourite, and it was actually Amana Barisa, her compatriot, who went on to win the race. And in similar fashion today, Almaz Ayana came in as the race favourite, but it's Wilkenish Degefer who has opened up a 10-metre lead as they head into the final 10 kilometres. And in the men's race, well, look at this. Sisai Lema has really put his foot down, and he's the one who has opened up a lead. Sisai Lema, very experienced marathoner, keeps looking at his watch as he's done for most of this race. He's opened up a 20-metre lead over compatriot David Walde in second place, and it's Kibiwot Kandi, the less experienced marathon runner, running his 3rd marathon here in Valencia, who is starting to struggle now. 35 kilometres. They are just outside world record pace, but still inside course record pace. Remember, course record set here last year by Kelvin Kiptum, 2:01:53.
And it is that strength of that 30 to 35 kilometre split of Kelvin Kiptum. So it does just show you the projected times versus the split times, as Kandi again now has to muster all the strength he can. But Sisai Lema, the athlete has ran over 20 marathons, and there you go, 35 kilometres, 1 hour 40 and 41 seconds. So he is looking really good again. He was almost from the beginning the elite athlete that was almost asking the pacers to push the pace on, and now he looks as if he's got 20, 30, even 40 metres on the group behind. So this is a decisive change as the women's race looks like it's coming back together.
Yep, Almaz Ayana has regrouped and has got back onto the shoulder of Wilkenish Degefer. Pacemaker, I think that's Titus Kemboy. Almaz Ayana's own training partner pacemaker Abeba Geradal is not in shot, but there on the right of our screen, one of the pacemakers who might well go with them to the finish or close to the finish. So it's Almaz Ayana has regrouped and is running back alongside Wulkanesh Degafa. Actually is taking the lead again. On the left of the screen, Sisai Lema. Now, with less than 6 kilometers to run, his 36th kilometer, last kilometer, 2:52, so he really put the foot down. His 34th kilometer was 2:58, 35th kilometer, 2:55, and then that last kilometer, which is when he's really opened up this gap, 2:52. So with just over 5 kilometers to run, Sisai Lema has opened up a big lead on Dawid Walde in second place, with Kibiwot Kandi in third.
Yeah, this is significant running. This is a strong bit of running by Lema. So 1 hour 45 minutes, and, not far away from the last 5 kilometers of the race. So he's so experienced. That's something that he has over most of them, but Walde's very experienced as well. You said he's into double figures in marathons, and a very consistent performer. But it's going to be interesting now. What we're looking for is the course record. Remember, it is 2 hours 1 and 53 seconds. And he also will have half an eye on that Ethiopian national record as well.
Lema looking very, very smooth, using all his experience. James, as you say, very consistent performer. His top 10 times average out at 2:05.14, so has run so many fast marathons. His fastest time in Berlin, 2:03.36, 4 years ago. There's the third female athlete, Hewat Gebri Kidan, trying to stay in touch with the two leaders, Wulkanesh Degafa and Almaz Ayana, still surrounded by male runners, including their pacemaker. But Sisai Lema really looking strong. Very experienced at the distance. His last win actually was in London 2 years ago in October 2021. He ran 2:04.01. Well, very interesting, isn't it, in the women's race? It seems as though Ayana is having a few problems, dropped back, and then came back onto the shoulder of Wulkanesh Degafa, but now it's Degafa who's got a bit of a gap over Ayana. These are the leading men. Lema at the front of the race and Dawid Walde in second.
It is, and Sisai Lema looks like he's increased his lead. Difficult to tell from that camera shot, but it looks around about the 100-meter mark. So this will be now starting to sting, there's no doubt about that. And there, just a little bit of his pedigree. It would take about 3 or 4 slides to do this man's marathon CV justice. But probably that highlight at 2021 London Marathon win. Second in Prague this year, again, was impressive there. Only Mutso coming out ahead of him. But he's just so consistent, and a really nice person to speak to as well. And he's very humble, even being on the top spot of the podium, and he'd be a popular winner today. And again, now we're talking about it's how fast that he can maintain this pace. Mark Rogan, the team here, would love the course record to go, and to keep the flag flying high for the fast times in Valencia.
Well, that's a significant move in the women's race. Walkenish Degefer has opened up 10-20 metres, I think, over Almazayana. Race certainly not yet over, but Degefer looking very, very strong with less than half an hour's running in the women's race. Degefer still got the assistance of the pacemaker and a few other male runners around her. Is that a Cardiff vest, James?
It is. I mentioned him earlier. So Dan Nash, so Welsh international multiple times, and an exercise physiologist who's just became a doctor. So he's having a good run right in that group as well. So, and on the back now, again, Alana looks like she's dropped off the pace, Richard.
Well, she's still in sight of Degefer, but certainly not looking as good as her compatriot. On the left of the screen, Sisai Lemma, doesn't he look strong? About 12-13 minutes of running left for Lemma. This is where they're heading back towards the old town. He'll come past the famous old station built in 1917, the historic North Station, and then come under the arch, Porta del Mar, and then head back down towards the City of Arts and Sciences. So just over 3 kilometres to run for Sisai Lemma, looking still very, very good. Has won 3 of his 24 marathons, London, Ljubljana and Frankfurt. But if he were to win here, this would be firmly putting his marathon career back on track. 32 years of age. Their determination on Walkenish's face. And what a comeback this would be for her.
Yeah, she looks really good. She looks like she's now starting to pull away again. She did earlier on a few kilometres ago and then got reeled back in. So 1 hour and 50 minutes you can see on the screen on your right, but also on the race clock behind as well, on top of the one of the support vehicles. And great noise out on the street, great support. You can see that with the crowds on both sides of the course. They absolutely love their running here in Valencia. They love supporting and seeing high-class, top-quality running. And Sisai Lemma is giving them a real show today. But he's looking at his watch. Looks like his cadence has dropped just very slightly. Whether Walde can close that gap or whether there's anything that can happen from behind, Richard. These are the real tough stages of the marathon.
Brilliant running by Sisai Lemma. He's still on target for a course record. We didn't really expect to see Lemma attacking Kelvin Kiptum's course record from last year, but his last 3 kilometre splits, 2:52, 2:52, 2:53, still looking good, and that's why he's opened up this massive lead over Walde. It's well over 150, maybe even 200 metres. Gone through 38 kilometres in 1:49.16, just approaching, actually, sorry, through 39 kilometres now, so less than 3 kilometres of running. Lemma with a big lead, and still looking on target to go inside Kiptum's course record set here in Valencia 12 months ago.
Yeah, 2 miles of running. He's going past the old station, past the bull ring as well. So the marathon being his bull, he is the matador out there on the streets as the marathon runner. And he's got inside 2 miles of running, so around about 3 kilometres. So this is going to really now start to become a bit tough unless he obviously can find a 3rd or 4th wind now. And if anyone can do it, if anyone is strong enough, it is Sisai Lemma on the screen. And he will be getting that projection from the lead vehicle of how close he is to that course record. And also that national record, 61 or that 41 by Kenenisa Bekele, who we still think is out on the street right now, and whether he can go inside that Masters world record of his own. So last split was he was dropping off, but we'll try and get an update on that. So lead screen showing the women take her through 35 kilometers in 1 hour 52 minutes and 34 seconds. So dropped off course record pace by over a minute now, and it's about winning now. That's the most important thing, and it also will be very close to her lifetime best as well. So if she can go inside the 2:17 mark, she'd be absolutely delighted with that top spot and a personal best. I don't think she could ask for anything more today.
Yeah, great comeback for Degefer. Had the national record when she ran 2:17.41. That was only good enough for second place in Dubai 4 years ago, but today looks as though she's on course for another marathon victory. Has won 3 out of her 5 marathons so far, and it's possible that she's going to go under her best 2:17.41, but outside the course record set here by Amana Barisa. On the right hand side, there's the leading Spanish athlete, Mayita Mayouf. Still got some company from male athletes, so she's well under course record, sorry, the national record set here by Marta Galiman when she ran 2:26. Well, Mayita Mayouf's best time was set in Valencia last year, 2:21, and that's why she's well inside that, and possibly even on course for a new best time today. Well, there's the Porta del Mar, which is about 2 kilometers from the finish. So Cisse Lemmer with probably about 6 minutes, under 6 minutes of running left as he heads back down towards Gulliver's Garden and this final mile and a bit run into the City of Arts and Sciences. Great crowds out on the streets.
And look at that, the course record is way under threat here, 1 hour 55 minutes and 12 seconds. So on our calculations, 26 seconds inside course record pace, but needs to close this out now. So it was 6 minutes and 12 seconds, or 6 minutes and 14 seconds, I should say, which was 14 minutes and 11 pace in terms of 5K split by Kelvin Kipton 12 months ago. So that's for the 2.195 kilometers from that 40 kilometer split. So it's going to be very, very close, but I think he's operating at a fast enough time for that. So a 6:29 would bring him there inside the Ethiopian national record and inside that course record time. So Cisse Lemmer is heading towards a 2:01 clock in. That is phenomenal running.
Yeah, he slowed slightly in the last 2 kilometres after that. When he broke away, he ran his 2:52, 2:52. Last 2 kilometres have been 2:56, 2:57, but he's still got a very big lead over second place David Walde. And James, as you say, he is still inside course record pace, and yep, possibly on for a new Ethiopian national record. Kenenisa's national record, 2:01.41 under threat. And this is the section you can see with lots of trees, the garden route alongside the river El Rio, which is the piece of road that will bring them back into this amazing setting for the finish around the hemisphere in the City of Arts and Sciences. And it's Lemmer still looking good, working very, very hard, but through 41 kilometers.
And if he does break Kenenisa Bekele's Ethiopian record, he would be the 3rd fastest runner of all time. Obviously, Kelvin Kipton sits at top of the tree. Eliud Kipchoge, 2:01.09 in Berlin in 2022. So this would or is one of the best performances of all time on the streets right now. The Valencia Marathon Trinidad Alfonso 2023, and we are just around about 80 seconds away from the 2-hour mark. So he is into the very last mile on the course. Cissé Lema, the 32-year-old decorated marathon runner. He looked the best from the beginning of the race, the aggressor from the beginning, and now he's really taken it to them over the second half of this race.
Yeah, fastest time of the year so far was set by Kiptum in Chicago. That was the world record. And the second fastest time this year, also by Kiptum in London in April. Well, Lema, he might be on course for the third fastest running time this year. Looking very good. 800 meters left. Lema in sight of the start-finish arena. He'll come down onto the blue carpet with just over 400 meters to run. So he can see the hemisphere in front of him. There's the 700 meter mark, the last 100 meters, last 700 meters all marked out in 100 meters. Lema knows the victory is his.
It is, and we go to the 2-hour mark now. So you can see the pace is starting to drop very slightly, but he knows he's got 600 meters of running. This is a distance he would have run multiple times on the track, on the road. He'd have dreamed about this moment, and he would have obviously planned it out with his coach, with his agent, to get to Valencia in the best possible shape. It was clear from the beginning of the race that that was the case, and the very welcome sign of the 400 meters to go mark. So on the track, that would be signaled by the bell. Here, he gets the applause of the spectators on the course side. So he can now enjoy the finishing straight here at the Hemispheric, the city of arts and science here in Valencia. This futuristic setting and beautiful finishing straight. So coming into the home straight is one of the very best marathon runners in the world. He can enjoy this moment. It's going to be a new course record here in Valencia. It's going to be the third fastest time, or he's going to become the third fastest runner of all time, taking the Valencia Marathon Trinidad Alfonso title for 2023. Is going to be the 32-year-old Ethiopian Cissé Lema. He looks absolutely delighted to be coming down towards the line now. The crowd are making the noise. He's going to be just outside the Ethiopian national record. But the Valencia Marathon Trinidad Alfonso champion for 2023 is Cissé Lema. What a run.
What a run, and a new course record. And we certainly didn't expect that coming into this race. Lema being congratulated by another Ethiopian, not quite sure who that is, but what a win for him, his fourth marathon victory. And look at this, it's Matiso, who has come from behind. 300 meters to run for Matiso. Looks like he might have overhauled the other Ethiopian, David Walde, but Cissé Lema absolutely delighted to take victory here. New course record. And it does look as though it's the Kenyan, Alexander Matiso, who was third last year, has come from behind to take second spot. Matiso ran 2:03.38, so he's inside his best time, just outside 2 hours and 3 minutes. Great run by Matiso, Mr. Consistent, as his manager Davor Savija calls him. Great run for Matiso to finish second.
Yeah, that's a new lifetime best for him as well. Goes one spot higher on the podium, moving from third last year to second this year, and that's a really, really good run. As you said, Richard, so consistent. And Darren Warday there, the second of the Ethiopians. And, he also will be rewarded with a new lifetime best performance. And I don't know what's happened to Kibiwott Candy, because he was there until the latter stages as Warday just about makes it over the finishing line. That's how tough it is out there. But Cisse Lema crossing the line in a new course record here at the Valencia Marathon, Trinidad Alfonso. As Guillay won't be as high as second as he was last year, but again, another really consistent run by the Tanzanian. And look at this, a new World Masters record by Kenenisa Bekele, 2 hours and 4 minutes. That's phenomenal.
That is phenomenal. 41 years of age. Kenenisa Bekele finishes 4th in the Valencia Marathon. What a run by one of the greatest of all time, Kenenisa Bekele. There's Kibiwott Candy, who's obviously struggled over the last few kilometres of the race. It was a very, very punishing pace that was set in the first half of the race. Candy looks like he was in 6th place, and the Ethiopian Charlo Deso. Oh, look at so many athletes now coming into the finish. Incredibly fast times. The first 3 runners across the line all ran lifetime bests.
Well, it was tough for Candy, but he's got about an 8-minute personal best there. So that shows that he's translated the half to the marathon a little bit better. It's there, the centre of the screen. Cisse Lema, he'd be absolutely delighted with that performance. As I said, he becomes the 3rd fastest man of all time. And again, showing the strength of the Valencia course and performance here. Look at the numbers crossing the line here. And again, we'll try and keep an update on those national records. That could be very close to a French national record. Wow, what a run by Ferrer there. So 2:05 still on the race clock, and I think we could have beaten the record for those inside 2 hours and 6 minutes. Still got 2 minutes and 10 seconds left to get inside Olympic qualification. So the record books are being rewritten in Valencia again. Phenomenal, absolutely outstanding performance, Richard.
And there's the new Spanish record holder, Tadeu Navales. We assume he's finished. It's yes, he has, and he's an amazing run by Tadeu Navales, taking more than a minute off his lifetime best.
Oh, he smashed it. The Spanish crowd are absolutely loving that. So they have supported Spanish runners here. So to see the national record return to Valencia over the marathon distance, that will make the organisers and the crowd and the everyone behind the scenes very, very happy.
Well, on the left of the screen is the leader in the women's race, finding it hard, actually having to go up onto the pavement to overtake one of the male runners, Rukanish Degefer. Less than 10 minutes of running for her. She's heading back.
Titus Kipruto, I think, struggling there on the right-hand screen. As you can see, these athletes going down towards that Olympic qualifying time. And
there's one of the Zimbabwe athletes, Isaac Mapofu. I think he's just outside his best national record of Zimbabwe, 2:06.48. He ran here last year. Well, he's about a minute slower, but just look at the number of athletes who are inside the Olympic qualifying time. Olympic qualifying time, 2:08.10. We've probably seen, what, at least 30, if not 40 athletes over the finish line inside Olympic qualifying time. And there's the new national record holder, Tadeu Navales.
And there, Phil Seseman on the screen. Oh, he's going to be agonisingly just outside that qualifying time as Joshua Cheptegei has continued to plough on and he's going to be around the 2:08 mark, and all these runners are going to run very fast times, and you can see Phil Sesman there on the left hand of the screen, who is going to get a new lifetime best, but he's going to be just agonizingly around about 30 seconds outside the Olympic qualifying time. And this is reminiscent of the World Cross Country Championships, where in Uganda, Cheptegei struggled, didn't he? And oh, you don't like to see that. We hope he's going to be okay recovery-wise. And well, I'm super impressed that he continued all the way on to the finishing line. So and maybe for some, slightly surprised as well, Richard.
Well, the good thing for Joshua is that he's got a good few months to recover in time for starting his preparation for the Paris Olympics, where he'll be running the 10,000 metres. Meanwhile, on the women's side, Degefer still looking strong, heading into the final few kilometres, chasing course record set here last year, 2:14.58, and her own personal best, 2:17.41. There's a nice picture of the new Spanish record holder at the marathon, Tadeko Navales, standing alongside Paco Borao, who's been such a prime mover in the Valencia Marathon over the last decade and more, alongside one of the benefactors for the race. So 40 kilometres for Workinish Degefer, outside course record pace, but well inside the lifetime best. Just under 2 kilometres to run for Degefer, on course for her 4th marathon victory and her first victory here in Valencia. Still looking really good.
Yeah, she is. Titus Kemboy has been the pacer to support her in the latter stages of this race. We saw she had to navigate some of the runners in front, hitting the wall, and there was that one runner that stopped in front of her, but Degefer has negotiated the course so well up to this point, and she's in to the very final stages of what is going to be a real return to form, and hopefully a new lifetime best. I think it is going to be a new lifetime best for her as well. And she still does look really good off the ground. You can see that that cadence, the way that she's looking so smooth at this later stage of the marathon. You can tell it is starting to hurt, starting to sting, but she'll be getting great support. She'll be knowing that she's on for a fast time as well. There's 2 hours and 11 minutes on the race clock, and she's in to the very final stages here at the Valencia Marathon Trinidad Alfonso 2023.
Just an update on Phil Sesman, British athlete, the first British finisher in today's race, finishing time 2:08.49. So a new lifetime best for Phil, more than a minute and a half inside his lifetime best set earlier this year, but sadly for him, just outside the Olympic qualifying time. Great run by Phil Sesman.
Yeah, it's a shame he couldn't join his one of his training partners, Emil Caress, up there in the Leeds area where they do a lot of their training. Emil hitting that qualifying time in London earlier this year, but great to see Phil continue to progress. And there is some windows, isn't there, with qualification? It's obviously the qualifying performance times, but being on the top list as well. So well done to Phil, well done to his coaching staff. Fantastic performance.
So great shots of the leading female, Workinish Degefer. She's been up with the leaders all the time and it broke clear of her compatriot Almaz Ayana in the last 5 kilometres. Maintained really good pace, still on target for a new lifetime best. Here she is on this stretch alongside the garden route El Rio, and soon she'll have sight of the hemisphere inside the City of Arts and Sciences complex. She'll start to see the marks giving her the exact distance left. I think she's approaching the final kilometre of the race now. 700 metres left.
Yeah, 700 metres, and the arms are driving, the knees are pumping, and still the pace is there, Titus Kemboy. But this has been a really impressive run, and it is going to be outside that course record, but it is going to be, I think, inside her lifetime best, and a very, very good run today, and tucked in that lead group, and then made the moves at certain times, and got close back in a couple of times, but now with 500 metres to go, Richard, she's on her way to take the title.
Great comeback for her. Really took the marathon world with her great victories in 2017 and then 2020. Her last marathon victory was in Dubai 3.5 years ago, and since then has had 2 children, has 2 daughters aged 1 and 2, but today is back right at the top of world marathon running with this victory. Lifetime best 2:17:41 is going to be well and truly beaten here. 200 metres to run. Goes past the 42 kilometre point and is still alongside her pacemaker. Pacemaker is allowing her to go past her. Finish line in sight. She'll be under 2 hours and 16 minutes. Coming home for her 4th marathon victory, still bouncing off the carpet.
So coming down towards the tape to win the Valencia Marathon Trinidad Alfonso for 2023, Workanesh Degafer has run to perfection here, a new lifetime best, 2 hours and 15 minutes. You can see the toll it's taken in the final stages, but the smiles will come out now without doubt. And Ayana, what a solid bit of running, another lifetime best for her. So she's going to be inside that personal best set in Amsterdam, but second place today, and again great to see her performing so well on the world stage over the marathon distance.
Yeah, great determination from Ayana to keep going, and as you say, James, a new lifetime best for her, almost a minute off the mark she set in Amsterdam 12 months ago. And there's the 3rd placed athlete, so it's a 1-2-3 for Ethiopia. Haywat Gebrekidan, she's going to take best part of 2 minutes off her best time. Came into the race with a best time of 2 hours 19 and 10 seconds. Well, she's going to take well over a minute off that time and make it a 1-2-3 for Ethiopia.
Yeah, showing the real strength of Ethiopian distance running today. Siselema taking the title for the men, and then a 1-2-3 in the women's race. And keep an eye on the clock. That's another very, very good performance.
Very close to that 2 hours 18. Might have just dipped under 2 hours and 18 minutes, but great run from Gebrekidan.
Kidan will take the 3rd spot on that podium. As you can see, so many finishers are in already. Those high quality club runners are streaming over the finishing lines. And As camera turns back to Marouf, who we expect in 900 meters to smash the Spanish record. Is 2:26, but it's on borrowed time now.
Yep, this could be one of the first national records to fall in the women's race, as we expected. Maïta Mayouf, who was running for Morocco until a few months ago, changed nationalities and so came into this race very much as the favourite to win the Spanish race here. Look at that. More than 4 minutes under the Spanish national record set here 12 months ago by Marta Galiman. Maïta Mayouf.
So she's going to be knocking on the door of around 2:22, maybe even inside that. So she has run 2:21. That is her lifetime best, so it's going to be interesting to see how close she gets to that, that 2:21 mark.
Yeah, we had 6 national records here in the marathon in the women's race last year, and I think the organisers hoping for even more. There was a Spanish record last year, and this year that's going to be repeated, but not by Marta Galiman, but by Maïta Mayouf. She's just coming onto the blue carpet, the final 400 metres down towards the finish line.
Yeah, a very welcome sign. And, she is now inside the 400 metres to go mark, so I think she's maybe going to be just a fraction outside her lifetime best, but yeah, that national record is going to be improved significantly. Galiman's time from last year, 2:26 and 14 seconds into the home straight. Marouf has been way inside the record pace throughout the race. It's just increased and increased. And that's also obviously going to stamp her place in the Olympic team. So it's going to be the second of the national Spanish records set today in Valencia. Nadia Marouf, the athlete that recently switched nationalities, but she's going to be very proud to hold the Spanish national record. It's going to be an improvement significantly for the 2:26 mark, around about 2:21 and 26 seconds, a new Spanish record. That's the second Spanish record of today.
Just outside the time that she set here last year by just a few seconds, but what a great win for her, and great to be representing Spain now in what is the biggest marathon in Spain by a long way. So almost 5 minutes taken off the record that was set here last year by Galiman. 2:21.27 by Maïta Mayouf.
Jose Antonio Redolan there on the right of the screen, very decorated middle distance runner himself, and Marco do such sterling work through the year, and they're very proud of the quality of not just international runners, but the Spanish runners that come here. They look after them in the half marathon a few weeks ago to make sure they then get here in tip-top shape with paces and the ability to run fast times. And Gregson, wow, what a run. The former steeplechaser, that's a fantastic bit of running. So keep an eye on the, it's going to be outside the Australian national record, but Annabelle Gregson there, what a run.
But that could be a new national record for Italy. Yaremchuk Sofia Yaramchuk, the national record for Italy, 2:23:44. So Sofia Yaramchuk sets the new national record for Italy.
Greneville Gregson there, what a bit of running. So I think we're going to head for an interview with Cisa Lema, the winner of the Valencia Marathon, Trinidad Alfonso. It's the party and fast times as runners crash over the finishing line.
For today, Valencia is so special for you.
Okay. First, I thank my God. Jesus helped me today. Thank you, I say, for my God. So today I'm very happy. Valencia is my first time here. I'm very happy to win today, and also I broke a course record. So I am happy, very feeling good.
And do you like Valencia today?
Yeah, yes, I like it in Valencia. It is very good country. It is good court.
Your time today was 2 hours, 1 minute, 48 seconds. It was your objective today, or you break your time?
Yeah, just I broke it my PB. I tried to broke it to course record just when I starting. I wanted to broke it, so just also I do it today.
Congratulations. Thanks for all.
Thank you.
Nos vemos, chicos.
Well, we're trying to keep track of some of the athletes as they cross the line. Eloise Wellings just crossing the line. Genevieve Gregson of Australia ran 2:23:08. Isabel Batdor ran 2:23:27. This is another of the Spanish athletes just coming into the line. Finish a new personal best for Fatima Adjou, 2:25:32. See if we can give you as many of these finishing times as we can as we spot them coming across the finish line.
Also inside that national record as well, so wow, so not just one runner but multiple runners inside that now old national record here in Spain. So there is Novels, the new record holder in the men's side, so so many nationalities, so many fast times.
Remember the Olympic qualifying time for women, 2:26:50. So we're looking out for a few more women trying to get under that mark.
Any update, Richard, on any of the Brits getting close to the time?
Well, we're just going to switch to another interview from the new national record holder at the marathon, Tariku Novales.
¿Qué tal te has sentido en la carrera? ¿Qué te ha parecido la atmósfera en Valencia? Cuéntame un poco de tu experiencia.
Bueno, la carrera espectacular, como siempre. Es que lo de Valencia no tiene nombre. Tenemos una suerte los españoles de contar con un maratón así aquí, que nos tratan tan bien y que tenemos la posibilidad de correr tan rápido. Es cierto que este año el viento ha estado movidito, nos ha pegado bastante tiempo en contra. Luego las liebres nos han fallado. El francés, el que quedó justo delante mía, y yo hemos tenido que correr muchísimo tirando el grupo, mucho rato. Creo que es una marca que podría rebajar, pero bueno, es lo que hay y estoy súper contento de haber hecho el récord de España. Sé que estaba muy buena estado de forma y nada, no sé qué decir, estoy muy feliz y nada.
En segundo lugar, pues ya sabes, el récord nacional. 2 horas, 5 minutos, 48 segundos. En plan, ¿cómo te sientes? ¿Pensabas que iba a ser tu tiempo o has mejorado las expectativas?
Sí, pensaba que podría rondar esa marca y la verdad que estoy súper contento. Estoy súper contento. Es que está ahí Kelly, que no puedo estar a las dos cosas. Soy su mayor fan y estoy nervioso. Ya está más nervioso por él que por mi carrera.
Te dejamos, muchas gracias. Enhorabuena.
Well, Tariku Novales expressing his delight, 2:05:38, new Spanish record, almost 2 minutes off his best time. There's another Spanish athlete won the Spanish race here last year, 2:28.21, so just outside her best time, but a great race for her. Just an update on some of the British female athletes who've already finished. Great run by Clara Evans, a new Welsh record and personal best time, 2:25.04, and just behind her Lily Partridge, a great comeback for her, 2:25.12 seconds. So lifetime best for both Clara and Lily. And Fionnuala McCormack ran 2:26.19.
Yeah, that's a great run by Clara Evans. So in improving that Welsh national record set last year here by Natasha Cochrane. So well done to the Pontyrodan, coached by Chris Jones, and that's a really, really good run by the Welsh lady. So as we're going down, so many fast times. So inside the Olympic qualifying times, I think 40 runners or 40 plus runners inside that 2:26.50 mark. And also, as Richard said, great to see Lily Partridge inside that time. So I think we can head down to the women's national record for Spain, Mayuf, who's with the commentating team down there.
Yo siempre que vengo aquí hago marca personal y la verdad aquí se corre muy rápido. El ambiente, toda la gente que ha estado en el circuito desde el kilómetro 1 hasta la meta animando, y eso ayuda mucho cuando ya las piernas van pesando y la verdad los últimos 8 kilómetros me lo disfruté un montón, muchísimo, aunque he sufrido bastante, pero a gusto.
En segundo lugar, enhorabuena por tu marca personal, por el récord, y nada, decirte que te has sentido que te han llevado en volandas la gente los últimos kilómetros. ¿Has sentido ese ambiente, esa gente que te llevaba para llegar al final?
Sí, la verdad que yo solo vi a la gente animando y digo, pues hay que apretar. No he podido hacer marca personal, pero por muy poquito, pero muy contenta por el récord, y eso para mí, vamos, llevo bastantes años trabajándolo y hoy ha merecido la pena salir y pelear por ello.
Aunque no hayas conseguido marca personal, ¿estás contenta con tu tiempo de hoy, habiendo conseguido?
Pues muchísimo, estoy muy contenta, a pesar de tener, bueno, en los últimos, en el último mes estuve un poco con tos y catarro, y decía, cada día me encuentro mejor, y hoy pues he salido desde el principio para hacer marca personal, pero bueno, me he quedado sola en los últimos kilómetros, pero bueno, el ambiente te lleva.
Enhorabuena y muchas gracias.
Muchísimas gracias a vosotros.
So Mayuf saying how pleased she is to get a national record just outside her personal best time, but just saying how delighted she was to run so well, and wanted to thank the support that she had, particularly over the last 8 kilometres, which was obviously the toughest part of the race in the marathon. But so many runners running today personal best times. I think we said that last year there were 22 women who ran under 2:30. Well, we haven't exactly got the number who've run under 2:30 this year, but it's probably going to be more than the 22 from last year. Here are the pictures of the men's winner, Cisse Lemmer. Great victory for him, winning his 4th big city marathon of his long career, his 25th marathon of a great career. Former London Marathon winner from 2 years ago, but this his fastest ever time inside the course record. Cisse Lemmer, the new champion here in Valencia.
And that's what it means to him and his support team. Absolutely delighted. I think he goes 4th on the all-time list, the 4th fastest man ever. And as Richard said, a new course record to boot. And, that will bring big smiles to all those associated with the marathon Valencia. Trinidad Alfonso, and then Workenesh Degva. What a run, a return to the absolute top spot of the podium, a new lifetime best, Richard. Very impressive.
Great comeback for her. Puts her in contention for one of the Olympic places. Obviously, the Ethiopian women's selection is going to be one of the hardest selections of all for Paris next year, as they've got the world record holder Tigist Assefa, they've got the world champion Amane Barisa from Budapest, and now the new Valencia champion, also from Ethiopia, 2:15.51, so almost 2 minutes off her lifetime best here in Valencia. Degefer from Ethiopia making it a Ethiopian double, winner in the men's race Sise Lema, and Workinish Degefer also from Ethiopia taking the women's title.
There's a beautiful aerial shot of the City of Arts and Science here in the wonderful city of Valencia. It has seen course records, a world masters record, 2 Spanish records, multiple national records, as well as a whole host of Olympic qualifying performances. A real festival of running. Still thousands of runners out on the streets getting their race done, as the race results for our elites is finished. And that's the top listing on the screen in position order. Just to be on those first 2 pages, you have to run very, very fast. The European champion there in 19th place, Richard Ringer. Good to see him running a fast time as well. A popular winner in Berlin last summer in that dramatic sprint finish for the line. And there the women's positions on the screen. 2 Australians in that top 10, but the Ethiopian dominance with a 1-2-3. And there the second page. See Stein, 11th place for South Africa. A good mix of nationalities in there. So many fast times. All those inside the Olympic qualifying times. See 20th place there, Clara Evans. And that new Welsh national record that will be celebrated and very, very popular back in the Welsh capital. So, still the runners come down the finishing straight. Someone referred to it as a catwalk, Richard, didn't they? So an iconic part of the race here in Valencia. And still thousands of runners, hundreds of runners will take their chance to soak up the atmosphere down the home straight.
Great finish venue. Great start venue on the bridge under which they're now passing, and then great finish venue. One of the big stories today will be Kenenisa Bekele's great performance, finishing in 4th place in 2 hours, 4 minutes and 19 seconds. So that's his 3rd fastest time for the marathon distance in his long career. Remember, he's been going for over 20 years since he won his first world title back in Dublin in the World Cross Country in March 2002. Now aged 41, running his 15th marathon, ran a new world record for a master with his time 2 hours, 4 minutes and 19 seconds.
Yeah, there's going to be lots of fast masters times as well, set by runners behind him. But again, in terms of longevity, Kenenisa is one of the very, very best for having been to the top spot of 26 global podiums. And he's still out here. And there was times in the race where he'd been dropped and he went through the halfway inside 61 minutes. But to come back with that new Masters world best time. So any runners out there that they would take their hat off to that performance, and just the fact that he's out there and still wanting to put the hard training in and toe the line. He's a real inspirational athlete, is Kenenisa Bekele.
Yeah, it was a very tough race today for the elites. The pace was so fast early on, with the leaders going through in almost world record pace. Kenenisa himself went through halfway in under 61 minutes and came back in about 63 minutes. So a fantastic performance from Kenenisa. As you say, James, still so motivated. He's talked about trying to get onto the Ethiopian Olympic team for Paris next year, which would be amazing, having missed out on selection at the last 2 Olympics for the marathon. It's going to be very tough for him to make the Ethiopian men's team, but his run today will have put him in contention.
Well, it'll be interesting to see whether Sita Lema wants to go as well, because not everyone, you know, it's not in everyone's favour. Some choose the big city marathons, but yeah, you would like to hope they do send their strongest team as well. And likewise, the Kenyan selection is always a tough one as well, given just the sheer depth and numbers of quality athletes. And talking of depth, look at the finishing line and the number of runners that are still coming down towards it. So these are just some of the highlights from earlier today. The start line, the first of 8 waves. And, the elites on the streets, Richard, running so economically fast early on. And then the races really did happen in the second half.
Yeah, there's the pacemakers doing a great job, and Hillary Kipkoech, one of the key people who set up this race, went all the way through to 30k, and he dropped out at 30 kilometers and left it to Sisai Lema to run pretty much solo over the last 10 kilometers. There he is, breaking away on course for his victory.
Workanesh Degfa was the supreme standout in the elite women's race, taking the title, but the men's title, Sisai Lema, in a new course record, to the delight of the organisers himself and his support staff. A popular winner here in the Valencia Marathon, Trinidad Alfonso, for 2023. And another popular winner, Workanesh Degfa, taking the women's title. And a new lifetime best for the Ethiopian. So from myself, James Thie, from Richard Narurka next to me, this has been the Valencia Marathon Trinidad Alfonso for 2023.
You are arriving and you are using your dream our finishing here at Boston Hall of drawing your personal best in one of the fastest marathons in the world and the fastest in the state. So, congratulations and good job for everybody. Congratulations and good job, Sally. We have arrived to the final line. It's like the final attack, but in marathon. So, you have known it. Let's do it in the start line and you have known it in the finish line. What can I say? Mira cómo suena esto, Valencia. A ver si escapa el Valencia. No lo digo. Os tengo que escuchar, Valencia. Como dice esto. Estamos pasando la canción de la comarca en los metros finales. Si nos estás escuchando, así suena la maratón de España. Vamos. 43.000 almas que están en la salida son gente de fuera de España. Así que imagina el alcance mundial planetario de la maratón de Valencia Trinidad Alfonso. Y ya tenemos a todos los atletas sobre la pasarela, sobre la alfombra de color azul de sus sueños. Venga, Álvaro, final de carrera para Crono. Enhorabuena. Venga, últimos, fuerza amigos. Venga, hay que llegar, hay que conseguirlo, hay que lograrlo. Ya estás con nosotros y nosotros estamos contigo. Así que escúchalo, siéntelo. Coco, 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 como suena tu corazón en la llegada a meta de la maratón de Valencia, Trinidad Alfonso. Venga, estamos esperando en meta. Valencia te abre sus brazos para darte ese abrazo final en la recta de esta pasarela espectacular que tenemos sobre las aguas del Mediterráneo, de la ciudad de las artes y las ciencias, porque hoy os convertís en especialistas, en graduados de esas artes y las ciencias. Venga, ese Miguel, de verdad, venga José Miguel, vamos. Grande, 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 vamos, Miguel Ángel Redonda. Grande, grande, gran carrera, gran maratoniano, espectacular Miguel Ángel Redonda. Venga, celébralo, vívelo, siéntelo, estás en la maratón. Venga, Frida, congratulations for your time. Venga, enhorabuena a todos y cada uno y todos. Venga, por ahí debo tener a Eduardo Hidalgo, que yo creo que va a hacer un marcón. Si los tiempos no me fallan de la aplicación, si está todo bien, igual hasta me estás escuchando, Eduardo, yo estoy aquí en meta a tu izquierda, debajo del arco, así que si no pasa nada, ven aquí a celebrarlo y dame el abrazo que me prometiste en meta. Venga, vamos, vamos, Miguel, vamos, vamos, vamos. Venga, venga, grande, amigo. Venga, 2 kilómetros para Eduardo Hilando. Venga, sigue llegando. Y atención porque estamos a punto de llegar a las 3 horas para los atletas, las atletas que han tomado la primera salida a las 8:15 de la mañana. Estamos a 2 minutos y medio, 3 minutos y medio para esas 3 horas de la primera salida. Venga, seguimos contándolo en directo. 3 minutitos, apenas 3 minutitos para bajar de las 3 horas los de la primera salida. Así que si me estás escuchando, si estás a lo largo de la pasarela, estás a punto de bajar las 3 horas, si cogiste la primera salida, así que ven a celebrarlo, te quedan 3 minutos nada más. Y luego los de la segunda salida estarían a 2 minutos de las 2 horas 50, estarían también muy cerquita de cumplir un sueño muy bonito en la Maratón de Valencia, todos bajando holgadamente de las 3 horas. De momento, 2 minutos y medio para las 3 horas de la primera salida, ni más ni menos. Así que si estuviste en la primera salida, aprieta los dientes para bajar de las 3 horas, amigo, amiga. Estás a 2 minutos de bajar de las 3 horas la primera salida. Venga, seguimos contándolo en directo. Y la segunda salida, estamos a punto de las 2 horas 50. Venga, una de las hermanas Amaro. Venga, adelante. Vamos, grande, grande, Carmencita. Venga, grande. Carmen Amaro. Venga, Carrera, señor Carrera. De Semano Club de Atletismo. Enhorabuena final de carrera para este atleta también haciendo un grandísimo registro. Y ya nos quedamos a 1 minuto 20 de las 3 horas para los atletas de la primera salida. Así que si nos estás escuchando, aprieta los dientes, que hay que bajar de 3 horas y de 2:50 quedan 10 segundos para bajar. De esos 2:50 los de la segunda salida, ahí tenemos a los prácticos Marc, enhorabuena a ese práctico de las 2 horas 50 de la segunda salida, claro, efectivamente. Y ahí tenemos a otro de nuestros prácticos, enorme, Jaime. Madre mía, qué barbaridad. Clavando los tiempos, nuestras lieres, nuestros prácticos, y aquí presentes absolutamente en esta pasarela para hacer las delicias de toda la gente que lleva en comandas. 30 segundos para bajar de las 3 horas para los atletas de la primera salida. 30 segundos nada más. Así que apretamos los dientes, 20 segundos para bajar de 3 horas. Los de la primera salida, ya tenemos 3 salidas en el cronómetro. Así que seguimos esperando. Ahí llega Fernando Ortiz, listo. Enhorabuena, Fernando, acompañado del Donichu grande. Los 2 de la mano. Enhorabuena, chavales. Enorme la maratón. En bandeja de oro, amigos, amigas. Yardo,